Okay, now, as I mentioned, Athabasca Basin, Peter Moore, who is the Managing Director of Basin Energy, will be providing ever more information on this great basin. But you have a great background, including with alligator and other names that people would also probably remember. But without further ado, I'll hand over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for giving us a Guernsey here today, PAC Partners. It's great to be able to present to you what Basin are doing, who we are, and the story we've come to today. From a geologist who's focused his career on the exploration side of things, it's great to see such interest in the sector at the moment, and we're pretty bullish going forward. Basin Energy, guys. Basin IPO'd, pardon me. So the disclaimer available on the website, I encourage you to take a look. Basin IPO'd at the start of October. We are a very new company. So the company raised $9 million. We are fully funded for our work program for the next couple of years. And we're focused on exploration, pure play exploration in the Athabasca Basin. We're currently sitting with a market cap of about 13 million, gives us an EV of about 4.2. So exceptionally leveraged towards exploration success. And exploring in the neighbourhood that Siobhan has just set the scene for. It's a pretty exciting opportunity to be able to add some serious value quickly. I aspire to Siobhan's success as she did in the third drill hole, was it? So, well, fourth, sorry, I'm not quite that good. The company is focused, as Siobhan said, on the eastern side of the basin. So again, we're looking for mineralisation amongst giants here. The map in front of you shows you those deposits of key knowledge within the basin, and I've got a bit of a schematic as to the size of them represented geographically to where we sit. So as you can see, our North Millennium and Marshall projects are located just north of the Millennium deposit, which is a Cameco iron deposit, some £100 million at about 3.5%, and we're looking for extensions to that system. And our Geikie project is on the eastern side of the basin. Now, critically, as we heard from some of the previous discussions, is infrastructure and regime as to where you're exploring. All of our projects are within 40 k's of active mills, and this part of the world has been explored and mined for uranium since 1952-53, since the first mines at Beaver Lodge. It's been a continuous top 3 producer for uranium for some 35 years or so, 35 to 45 years. So the legislation is in place, the framework is in place, A, to explore, so you have the transparency of the systems to go and do the work, and B, if you have success, to be able to develop them credibly. As a junior explorer, why do you choose to go to the Athabasca Basin? Now, we're a different value proposition to some of the other entities. We are pure play exploration, okay? You go to places which find uranium. Now that sounds simple, but it's true. And there's no better way of showing this as to looking at the exploration success of the last 12 to 15 years, where we've seen uranium in a downturn. Where else in the world has produced credible, value-adding, company-making discoveries? Now, for someone who's been focused on exploration for uranium, I can tell you it's not a lot of places. The standout opportunity here is the work done by NextGen. So NextGen discovered Arrow when uranium was sitting at $30 per pound. Their market cap went overnight in the discovery hole from 30 to 60 mil. Within 3 years, they were trading at about 500 mil. This is only 10 years ago, bearing in mind we're now at $2.1 billion. The value of success in this part of the world is phenomenal, and that's why you explore in this region. Subsequent success has been seen elsewhere. We've had work done at RRR. We've had the Hurricane deposit discovered by ISO Energy. Pardon me. Siobhan was discussing grades. Now this is the standout for me. The maiden resource for them is 50 million, well, just shy of 50 million pounds at 35% uranium. Now, my personal experience was working in Westmoreland in northwest Queensland. Similar size, about 50 million pounds, about 0.1. Incredible story, great projects, but again, a different league of grades. Now, to plug Siobhan even further, additional success in a downturn. We've seen the results from 92 Energy, 43 metres of 0.6. Phenomenal success, guys. The work at baseload from the AKO. And our joint venture partner, Canalaska, is also operating in joint venture with Cameco along strike. Just had success with 9 metres at 2.6%. Again, why am I telling you this? Because this is a time where people have been struggling to fund exploration and move projects forwards. We are seeing still success and value created for people who go and do credible work in this part of the world. Okay, so what does Basin bring to you? Now, this is a slightly different version to the one you just saw, but a stylistic cross-section of the Athabasca Basin. We have 2 styles of mineralisation, as you have just heard. The unconformity styles, which is the traditional McArthur River cigar lakes, and basement-hosted styles. Now, we have some technical variances on our interpretations of this, but we'll leave it at that. Basin brings you exposure to both of these opportunities. Our Geikie project is adjacent to 92 and to baseload, looking for basement-hosted mineralisation of similar style to Arrow. Our North Millennium and Marshall projects are targeting unconformity-related deposits of similar styles to McArthur River and Cigar Lake. Now, these both have upsides and downsides. We are pretty excited about both of them, and we've got a strategy to move them forwards. Because of the work done in this part of the world, guys, there's a phenomenal knowledge of how these mineralising systems work. And that's great from de-risking your project portfolio and being selective on what assets you go into. Fundamentally, ensuring that you've got the right geology, so the right rock types, the right structure, is critical. Ensuring that you have evidence for metals, so do you have uranium in your system? Do you have trace metals and pathfinders in your system? And something that some people do forget is explorability. Can you use technologies and techniques and use them to advance your projects? Is it a gated set of targets to move the project forwards? And if you do find something, is it a target depth which you can do something with? Now, all of these are critical when you look at projects anywhere around the world, but in the Athabasca perhaps more so. So we are, as I've already mentioned, we are close by to some fantastic discoveries and to uranium mines. We're about 40 k's in any given point from a mill, and we do sit next to known mineralisation. I'll talk briefly on the team. The board itself is a team of people who have all released value from uranium-specific sectors, whether it be through mergers and acquisitions or through discovery. But perhaps the differentiator for us is our joint venture partner. Our assets have come into the company through doing a deal with TSX-listed Canalaska. We have 100% of one of our assets, the Marshall project, and we're earning 80% of our other 2. As part of that deal, we have complete technical control of our exploration. We have complete budgetary control. However, we get to utilise on-ground, in-country teams, de-risking access issues, helping out with community relations, sourcing contractors. The value this adds to us is phenomenal. It keeps our exploration operating costs down. We're not going and establishing offices and full-on teams in Saskatchewan. We are leveraging on that. We're also, they've just had exploration success in joint venture with Cameco, and you back winners. Now I haven't set a timer, so I do apologise. So Basin in the Athabasca, I'm going to start talking to you about the Geikie project. So this is our basement-hosted opportunity located east of 92 and baseload. To the north of us, we have Cameco. This area has been overlooked historically for uranium exploration. This comes back a little bit to the previous discussions about people concentrating on the contact of the unconformity between the sandstone and the underlying stratigraphy. Here, that sandstone's been eroded off, and we're sitting beneath that contact. This is a prospective horizon, guys. Arrow is 300 million pounds at several percent. There is no reason we can't get credible ore bodies in this part of the world. Why? Because you've got the same fundamentals. You've got the right rock types. You've got the right structures. When we went to delve into the information that was available historically, we find rock chips which show you uranium up to 0.25%. We find the pathfinder elements that are associated with some of these major deposits of the area. We have geophysical settings which indicate where we want to be. So again, if you think about the basement conductors that Siobhan was discussing, some limited patchy historic coverage suggests that we have conductors on the tenement area, and we have those fault systems that are known to be fertile in the area. How do we explore this? We IPO'd, don't forget, 6 weeks ago. We've done our airborne radiometric and magnetics as a first pass. This has picked out a couple of structural corridors we previously didn't know, and also confirmed two that we had interpreted. We have got EM to confirm those conductors exactly where they are, happening in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So contractors locked in, that'll happen before Christmas. We're looking at doing gravity, whether it be ground or airborne, in the early new year, depending on the results of the EM, and we'll be drilling this as our first cab off the rank. So we'll be drilling this for Q1 next year as the time frame. Now, I'll tell you a little bit about our second project. So we're going to unconformity style now. A different value proposition. This is looking for deeper targets. Our prospective horizon here, we believe, is about 700 metres. To understand why this is exciting to me, and I do get excited about this one, we've got the Millennium deposit just 7 k's to the south. So £105 million at 3.8%. We are looking for repetitions of this. At Millennium, we have a northeast striking basement conductor, the graphitic units that Siobhan mentioned, being intersected by a north-south fault. The north-south fault is the thing that carries the uranium. Cameco call this their mother fault. Okay? Follow that to the north. The next time it hits a basement conductor, we've got some historical EM information here, shows disruption of this conductor, shows that this conductor has been chopped up. Now, this is not a bad place for anybody to be looking for uranium. You know you've got a fertile structure, and you know you've got a conductor in the basement. Look along strike, 15 k's. In the last couple of months, Athabasca with Cameco have just had exploration success. So not only have you got a conductor, you know along strike, it's susceptible to mineralisation. If you think about what Siobhan said, these things occur in clusters. And this is what we're looking for. You can't be in much better a cluster than that. A discovery on within 7 k's of a known deposit. How will we advance that, the North Millennium project, guys? The next one we'll do is some ground EM. We'll go and confirm the historic data, and we'll make sure our targeting is spot on. We're a junior company. We raised $9 million. We're very conscious of spending that money as wisely as possible. We'll do the ground EM. That'll happen over the Northern Hemisphere winter. Rolling into Q2, we'll do our first couple of drill holes on this, and we'll advance this target and move it forward with as it deserves, the merits it deserves. Little bit of an overview slide here. We do have a third project, the Marshall project, which is next door to North Millennium. This is focused specifically on a geophysical feature. The missing ingredient from my 3 primary criteria here is I don't know what the structure is doing yet. We'll do some ground geophysics on that in Q1 as well, and see how we can develop that project further. But in summary, right rock types, right structures, with the right neighbours, the likes of the Camecos, the Oranos, the Denisons, in a part of the world which is a proven value creator for explorers, for people who explore genuinely. I've discussed the timeline already, but we have IPO'd 6 weeks ago. We've done our MAG and our radiometrics. We've got our EM happening in a couple of weeks' time. We did manage to sneak a little bit of groundwork into Geikie before the snow came, so we've got some very limited mapping and prospecting work done. Hope to get results for that out in the next week or 2. Rolling into further geophysics before drilling in Q1, Q2 and Q3 next year, 3 separate programs. So that's Basin in a very quick nutshell. I'm happily talk to you about the technical credentials of our projects all day long, and I encourage, if you are interested, please reach out. Let's have a one-on-one and run through it. So thanks, guys.
So Pete, 14 mil cap, you've got 9 in the bank.
Yep.
How far does that 9
Look,
in terms of your program?
so our program is budgeted through for 2 years. Now, I would like to think that if we have any sort of exploration, any sort of momentum in the sector, which continue to be seeing, and any sort of exploration success, then we will fast track our programs for that. In which case, we're fully funded for the next year's campaign. But look, people invest in a company like us to go and explore. So we'll be exploring and doing that work that we say we're going to do, and we'll do it as cost effectively and quickly as possible.
Who's your biggest shareholder?
At the moment, so as part of the deal, when we got the assets in, Athabasca took a 19.9% stake in the entity. And then we have a series of instos on the book, which I'll discuss with you, possibly separately, but they're the main holders. Sash and Cove, I think, are in number 2 or number 3, and then some of the local funds here you'll be familiar with.
Any Canadian brokerage come out buying?
No, we focused purely on Australian and US markets when we went out for this. And that was partly for the opportunity for them to not make competition in the assets. So kind of the model that ISO did with 92 was providing an exposure to the ASX without forming a competitor for themselves. So Alaska saw this as a way of advancing those projects which were not in joint venture with Cameco or Denison.
Terrific. Well, thank you very much.
Perfect. Thanks, guys.